Hello everyone, it's Mr. H again to read you some more stories. We're right in the middle of the story, The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark by Tomlinson. Now, before I start talking about the story, I've got a little picture and it should come up over my shoulder. And this is from one of the children who've been watching. They've drawn a picture of the owl. This is from Xander. And he's drawn the picture showing the owl on the branch watching fireworks, which is from chapter 1. And that is from a chapter called Dark is Exciting. And the boy said it was exciting because it was a time that you can have fireworks. Now that gives you a little clue as to when the book is actually set. What time of year do we have fireworks? Do you know? And then the next chapter, Plop the barn owl meets the old lady, and she said dark is kind. It's kind because you can't see the wrinkles like you can see mine. Dark makes your face look softer. And she also said it was an opportunity to think about people that she'd lost. But specifically, she was talking about her husband. It's quite sweet. And then we had chapter 3, which was Dark is Fun, and that was the Boy Scouts. And they said it was great to play hide and seek in the dark because it made it more exciting. So, dark is exciting, dark is kind, dark is fun. And now we come to chapter 4. Now this gives another clue as to the season that we've moved into, because time has gone past in this story. And this is a chapter called Dark is Necessary. Plop asked, "What's next?" a great many times during that night. He sat just outside the nest hole, making loud snoring noises. He was not asleep, he was hungry. Owls always snore when they're hungry. "Oh, Plop, I shall be glad when you can hunt for yourself," said Mrs. Barn Owl wearily, when Plop had gulped down his 7th, or was it his 8th, dinner. "What's next?" said Plop. "Nothing," said his mother. "You can't possibly have room for anything else." "I have," said Plop. "My mouse place is full up, but my grasshopper place isn't." "That's just too bad," said Mrs. Barn Owl, stretching and settling herself down to roost. Mr. Barn Owl swooped in, clapping his wings. He dropped something at Plop's feet. Plop swallowed it up in one gulp. It was deliciously slippery. "That was nice," he said. "What was it?" "A fish," said his mother. "I like fish," said Plop. "What's next?" "Bed," said Mr. Barn Owl, and he kissed his wife good night, or good day, I suppose it was, and settled himself to roost. Plop made a few hopeful snoring noises, but it was clear that the feast was over. He wobbled into the nest hole and was soon fast asleep himself. It was well into the afternoon when he woke up. He came out onto the landing branch and looked around. His parents were still drawn up, as still as carvings. But the squirrels from downstairs were chasing each other up and down the trunk, their tails flying behind them. Plop watched them for a bit. One of them scurried along the branch just below Plop's, and then stopped abruptly and began to wash his face. He did not know that Plop was there. After all, owls are supposed to be asleep during the daytime. Plop could not resist it. He bent down through the leaves and let out his very loudest "Eek!" The squirrel jumped into the air like a jack-in-a-box, his ears a quiver and his eyes like marbles. He flashed down the trunk and vanished into his hole. Plop jumped up and down with delight. But of course, he'd done it again. He'd woken his mother. "Plop!" "Yes, Mummy?" "Go and find some more about the dark, please, dear." "Now?" said Plop. "Now," said his mother. "Go and ask that little girl what she thinks about it." "What little girl?" "That little girl sitting down there, the one with the ponytail." Little girls don't have tails. This one does. Go on now, or you'll miss her. So Plop shut his eyes, took a deep breath, and fell off the branch. His landing was a little better than usual. He bounced 3 times and rolled gently towards the little girl's feet. "Oh, a woolly ball," said the little girl. "Actually, I'm a bar now," said the woolly ball. "An owl? Are you sure?" she said, putting out a grubby finger and prodding Plop's round, fluffy tummy. "Quite sure," said Plop, backing away and drawing himself up tall. "Well, there's no need to be huffy," said the little girl. "You bounced. You must expect to be mistaken for a ball if you will go bouncing around the place. I've never met an owl before. Do you say twit-to-woo?" "No," said Plop. "That's tawny owls." "Oh, you can't be a proper owl then," said the little girl. "Proper owls say twit-to-woo." "I am a proper owl," said Plop, getting very cross. "I am a barn owl, and barn owls go eek like that." "Oh, don't do that," said the little girl, putting her hands over her ears. "Well, you shouldn't make me cross," said Plop. "Anyway, you can't be a proper girl." "What did you say?" said the little girl, taking her hands off her ears. "I said, you're not a proper girl. Girls don't have tails. Squirrels have tails. Rabbits have tails. Mice. This is a ponytail," said the little girl. "It's the longest one in the class," she added proudly. "But why do you want to look like a pony?" said Plop. Because it's the fashion," said the little girl. "Don't you know anything?" "Not much," said Plop. "Mummy says that's why I'm afraid of the dark, because I don't know anything about it. Do you like the dark?" The little girl looked at Plop in surprise. "Well, of course I do," she said. "There has to be dark. Dark is necessary." "Dark is necessary. It's a water." "Necessary. We need it. We can't do without it." "I could do without it," said Plop. "I could do without it very nicely." "But Father Christmas wouldn't come," said the little girl. "You'll have an empty stocking on Christmas Day." "I don't wear stockings," said Plop. "And who is Father Christmas?" "Well, Father Christmas is a fat, jolly old man with a white beard, and he wears a red suit with a matching hat and black boots." "Is that the fashion?" said Plop. "No," said the little girl. "It's just what he always wears in pictures of him. Although I don't know how anybody knows, because no one has ever seen him." "What?" said Plop. "Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Father Christmas only comes in the night. He comes in the middle of the night, riding through the sky on a sledge pulled by reindeer." "Deer?" said Plop. "In the sky?" "Magic deer," said the little girl. "Everything about Father Christmas is magic. Otherwise, he couldn't possibly get around to all the children in the world in one night, or have enough toys for them all in his sack." "You didn't tell me about his sack." "He has a sack full of toys, and he puts them in children's stockings." "In their stockings?" said Plop. "With their feet in them? There can't be much room." "No, silly. We hang empty stockings at the end of our beds for him to fill. I usually borrow one of Mummy's, but last year I hung up my tights." "Did he fill them?" breathed Plop. "No, only one leg, but he did put a sugar mouse in the other one." "I'd rather have a real mouse," said Plop. "So would I, really," said the little girl. "I wanted a white mouse, but Mummy says that if a mouse comes into the house, she will leave it, and I suppose Father Christmas didn't want me to be an orphan." Plop was thinking. "I don't think owls have Father Christmas, not barn owls anyway, and I haven't got a stocking to hang up." "Ah, what a shame," said the little girl. "Everyone should have Father Christmas. It's so exciting waking up in the morning and feeling all the bumps in your stocking and trying to guess what it is." "Oh, stop it," wailed Plop. "I wish he would come to me." "Shut your eyes," said the little girl. "Go on, shut them, and you may get a surprise." Plop shut his eyes tight and waited. The little girl quickly pulled off her Wellington and took off a sock. She was wearing 2 pairs because the boots were too big for her feet. "Open your eyes," she said to Plop, holding up the sock while he stood on one leg and wriggled her foot back into the Wellingtons. Plop opened his eyes and then shut them again because he couldn't believe what he saw. "Don't you want it?" said the little girl. "I know it's a bit holy, but I don't expect Father Christmas would mind." "Oh, thank you," said Plop, taking it with his beak and then holding it in his foot. "Thank you very much. I'll go and hang it up at once." "Not yet," laughed the little girl. "You'll have to wait until Christmas Eve." "Well, I must go now. It must be nearly tea time." "Goodbye. I do hope Father Christmas will come to you." "Goodbye," said Plop, bobbing his head with a little bow. "You are very kind. You are a proper girl. And you are very nice." "Eek!" said the little girl. "I'm going to practice to make my brothers jump." "Eek!" She ran off, and Plop could hear it eeking right across the field. Plop picked up the sock in his mouth and flew up to the landing branch. "Well," said his mother. "The little girl says," he began with his mouth full of sock. He put it down and tried it again. "The little girl says dark is necessary because of Father Christmas coming," he said. "And what do you think, Plop?" "I still do not like it at all, but I'm going to hang up this sock on Christmas Eve." And Plop took his sock and put it away very carefully in the corner of the nest hole, ready for Christmas. And that's the end of that chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do send your photos in like Xander did at reception@mospits.com. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.